Hello everyone and welcome back to Fireside Chat. I'm Andrew Williamson.
I'm Kendall Caps.
And I'm Chris Lewis.
Well, we're a couple days out from opening day.
That's right, baseball season. Yeah, it's fine.
Field baseball in the air. You guys amped for this?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm excited. It's been a long off season. We finally get back to baseball time.
Well, everybody knows this is the time of year you're hoping your team is the team to beat, the team that's going to come in and have made the right adjustments to come in and take home the World Series title. We're here to separate the haves from the have-nots, who's going to be good, who's going to fall off a little. Start out in the NL West, where we've got last season's defending champs, the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, no one saw that coming, but they did it with pitching and defense, with big-time Timmy Jim, who's earned that name, along with Matt Cain, Jonathan Sanchez, who finally put it together for a full season last year, and you saw what he was able to do. And then Bumgarner, the young kid who pitched really well down the stretch. They got really timely hitting, and in that division where there aren't any other monster teams that they have to worry about, I like their chances of repeating and getting back into the postseason.
How about you, Chris? You taking the Giants too?
I like the Giants. They definitely earned a championship last season, but I think that you got to watch out for the Rockies this season. They got the return of Jeff Francis, Carlos Gonzalez, and Tulowitzki were just signed for 10 years. That's a momentum booster for them right there. And if they play solid, if their pitching is hot, they're gonna be unstoppable this year. I think they're gonna win the division.
Well, let's kick it over to the NL West, or the AL West, excuse me, and we'll start off there with Texas, who won the division last year. You think they'll be repeating, or you see another dark horse here?
I actually think Texas, with the loss of Vladimir Guerrero and Cliff Lee, aren't going to do so well this year. Those two were a big success for them getting to the World Series, I think.
It was, but they had a lot of depth in their rotation. C.J. Wilson, Colby Lewis, another guy that stepped up as the season progressed, and they have a lot of that coming back. They still have Josh Hamilton, which, healthy as we finally saw, he is one of the better hitters in the entire game of baseball, and they have pieces that are around him. Michael Young is still there, still have a lot in place, and it's going to be difficult. But Anaheim, under the tutelage of Mike Scioscia, maybe the best manager in baseball, he always has them in contention. They brought Vernon Wells in to help alleviate some of the problems that they lost in recent years with the stick, and I think that's going to help them maybe steal back the division crown from Texas this year.
Well, how about over in the AL East, where you've got the Yankees and the Red Sox, and usually this time of year we're talking about all the Yankees' new players and new acquisitions or their new all-star, but this year there's nobody to talk about.
No, they didn't get any of the big-name free agents for once in a while. The Sox went out, they get Gonzalez and make it seem like they weren't interested in Crawford. Then they signed that deal midnight out of nowhere, and suddenly the Yankees are out in the cold on multiple.
So I think you got to wait until the trade deadline. I mean, the Yankees are a sneaky team, and they're definitely not going to go anywhere this year without picking somebody up. And I think that they have plans for the future. I mean,
they know what they're doing, cheaper pickup close to the trade.
But they have some serious issues. I mean, you look, Pettit retired now. You're still not sure with Phil Hughes, with what he did in the playoffs. You don't know what you really have. And A.J. Burnett, year after year, continues to struggle pitching in that AL East. I just don't see with that rotation how they'll be able to do anything. But one team that you should watch out for, Baltimore Orioles. They went out, got Mark Reynolds, signed Vladdy. They have J.J. Hardy, who a few years ago had some serious pop. I mean, that's a team that could sneak up on people, maybe win 85, 90 games this year.
Well, as a Red Sox fan, I'm actually worried about the Orioles right now, as opposed to the Yankees or the Rays right now, who have just, the Rays especially, I mean, with the loss of, Crawford and Pena and,
Matt Garza at the top of their rotation. It really hurt him. They signed some old vets like Johnny Damon and Manny Ramirez. But, they're going to struggle a bit this year. James Shields, they lost a lot of pieces to their team, and it's really going to hurt them going forward this season.
All right, well, let's hike over to the NL East. There you've got Philly, who really did make a lot of acquisitions. But yeah, they're a great team, but now a lot of them are getting injured.
Well, they had Cliff Lee, and then they let Cliff Lee go, and they realized we need to get this guy back, and they went out and got him again. I mean, that rotation with Halladay, Cliff Lee, Roy Oswalt, Cole Hamels, it's going to be difficult for teams to deal with on a daily basis.
Well, that rotation is going to depend a lot on being healthy. I mean, with Oswalt right now, he's a little injured and a little iffy. And, if he's not in there and they have to put in somebody else, that rotation could fall apart. Not fall apart, but it's not going to be as strong as it looks on paper right now.
Yeah, and on paper, everything tends to look good on paper, and then when it plays out, the problems persist. And also, I mean, don't forget, Utley's out for a little while. I mean, they have some other question marks. Brad Lidge is out 3 to 6 weeks to start the season. That could really hurt the back end of their bullpen. They're going to try to have Brian Madsen fill in, maybe take care of that for a little while until he comes back. But that's been a question mark for them for a couple of years. But the Atlanta Braves, a team that snuck up on people last year, they could maybe give them a run for their money. And the Florida Marlins, Josh Johnson, he's a stud. He's an ace. Anybody in fantasy, grab this guy. He's well worth the gamble. And for the most part, but Philly's going to have a hard time losing that division with the amount of talent that they have there.
Okay, well, how about over in the AL Central, where Minnesota's the defending champs? Teams kind of all in a muddle there. You don't know who's going to rise to the top this year. You see the Twins coming out again, the Tigers.
No, every year there's not really much of a good team. There's a bunch of average teams that usually lose to the Yankees every year in the first round. It seems like it's Minnesota last year. The White Sox made some really good additions getting Adam Dunn and a couple other pieces, and I think they might win that division this year. But I don't see anyone from that division really making any noise come playoff time, so we can probably move past that one.
All right, well, and how about, last but not least, the NL Central, where you've got St. Louis. They have Pujols for this year. Do they have him longer? And you've got also Cincinnati, who won the division last year, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Well, I think the Phillies have a good chance right now. The Cardinals, I'm sorry, like that. The Cardinals have a good chance if Pujols, stays with them. I think that Pujols, if he makes a decision to stay with the Cardinals this season, it's going to help the team throughout the season as opposed to worry about the seasons that follow.
Yeah, but I mean, he had talked about he wanted to wait till after the year, and he's going to play it out. We'll see what happens with that, but they lose Wainwright to that key injury. Carpenter still has some question marks. They have some question marks themselves, whereas a team like Cincinnati, who, they came out of nowhere last year, they win their division, can they do it again this year is the question. I mean, and guys, they had a lot of young guys. Brandon Phillips, who really came of age. Joey Votto, another guy that just blew up last year, won the NL MVP. I mean, I really look for them to have another big year offensively and probably take that division.
Well, I think it's going to be a good year for baseball overall. All the divisions, I think, are going to have a solid competition, and I'm looking forward to October really. I mean, I think October is going to be. It's going to be fun.
It shall be a lot of fun this year.
I don't think you're going to know who's going to be in there. It's going to be cool. But we have an addition here on Fireside Chat now. We're going to go to Kendall Caps with our Fireside Star of the Week.
This week's star that I'd like to focus on is Joey Votto of the Cincinnati Reds. Now, we all know he won the MVP award last year in the National League, finally taking it from Pujols. He had 37 home runs, drove in 113, had an OPS over 1,000. He was a beast last year. And a lot of people thought it just came out. He wasn't on everyone's minds going into the year. But really, when you look at things, maybe he should have been. Coming out of college, he was drafted by Cincinnati in 2002. He played well in AAA, single-A ball. He gets to the pros his first 2 full seasons. He hits 24 and 25 home runs respectively, at 84 RBIs both years. I mean, he was having productive years early on, and now he's 27. You know he's going to blow up. But that tends to be the age when you look for guys to really break out into their full career, and that's what he did last year. It was quite amazing. A lot of people think maybe because he played so many games at the Great American Ballpark, that helped produce some really big numbers, but in fact, it's actually the opposite. He hit 19 of his 37 home runs on the road. He hit 350 on the road as opposed to 300 at home. Now, one area he might struggle in a little bit, he only hits .280 against lefties, which isn't really too bad for a lefty himself, but for the most part, that's maybe the one chink in his armor. Beyond that, he can do just about everything for you. He steals bags for you fantasy gurus out there. He has some added value there. You might want to grab him for that reason early in a draft, if not for any other. And not to mention his statistics. You look at what he does. He had 6 doubles and 7 home runs on the first pitch of an at-bat last year, most of any count. So he's aggressive. He likes to run the base pass. He's a great all-around player. And look for him to maybe have another really big year this year.
Well, everyone, thanks again for joining us here at Fireside Chat. Alongside Kendall Caps and Chris Lewis, I'm Andrew Williamson. We hope to see you next week.